Today I am eating some rice, um, but I'm also eating some other stuff with the rice. I'm not just eating rice. The dish that I'm eating today is called. Again, this is something where there's not really a good name for it. It's just you just describe it. It's like it doesn't really have a name. The name is just a description of what it is. Um, but the name of this restaurant is called um, Ganguo Jianro. Um, and gan means dry, and guo means pot. So ganguo means or wok. A wok could be a guo as well. So like a dry pot, dry pan. So it means it doesn't have broth in it, or just a little bit of oil, like stir fried with a little bit of oil. And then jianro, ro is meat, and jian is just a type of cooking where you um, cook something in a wok kind of thing. Um, so this is just basically some meat stir fried with some veggies. Um, the veggies that this place does tend to be more pre-cooked things that need to cook a long time. Um, and then they throw them once those veggies are more fully cooked. They throw them in with some meat that you're basically stir frying in a dry pan. Uh, I actually got two kinds of meat. I don't know if I'm going to be able to easily identify which ones are which. Here. This is some slices of chicken that are. I think this is the chicken. It's hard to tell. It has chicken and pork in it, and it's can be hard to tell the difference between the two. Uh, yeah. I think this is the chicken. And the chicken on the menu here, they call it xiaorou, which means little meat. Just because it's small pieces of meat. They don't really specify the type of chicken. It's just chopped up bits of like chicken breast and thigh. And then uh, the pork is called Veggie, and that is Veggie is tenderloin. So it's basically just sliced up bits of the pork tenderloin. So that's a pretty common. That's probably one of the most common cuts of pork that they use just when they're like chopping up, using little chopped up pieces of pork in a dish, is the tenderloin. So the two types of meat in this were called xiaorou and liji. The xiaorou is chicken and the liji is pork. And then this can be quite a spicy dish. It has these little small red peppers that are quite spicy. I like having the peppers in it. But they're a little too spicy for me to eat. So I usually they add a good flavor to the dish, but then I usually pick them out and don't actually eat them. Those can be really, really spicy when they're the little Sichuan really hot red peppers. So then the other two main, or actually three main ingredients that I got in this are potato. This is like pretty well cooked, soft and tender potato. So these potatoes were cooked quite a bit before they added the meat, and this has been cooked for a while, and then just added in at the last minute with the meat. The other thing is, let me find a biggish piece to show, called doujiao. Dou means a type of pea. Any kind of pea or bean is dou. So that's where tofu comes from. Like it's made from soybeans. And this is doujiao. Jiao. The character that they use usually means something that's kind of a largest triangular shaped thing, or a horn kind of shape. But I don't know that really applies to these like green beans. These are just green beans. They're chopped up. This restaurant is using. There are actually two kinds of green beans in northern or northeastern China. One is the same kind we would be used to in the West, and one is a little different. It's a bit of a bigger bean. Or actually, I should say there are three kinds of green beans now that I'm thinking about it. There's the kind we're used to in the West. There's this kind, which is a bit more, the skin's a bit more crinkly, but it's still like, when you cook it up, the skin's still plenty edible. The peas on the inside are a little smaller than in a normal green bean. And then the other one they have here is a much bigger, almost like a flat bean. And those ones, you can eat the pod of it like you would with other green beans, but it's a lot more tough and it needs to be cooked down a lot longer. And then the peas on the inside of those are white. But they still call them, all three of them, they use the same name for it. They call them doujiao, or which translates to green bean. I'm sure there are proper English names for all three of them, but I don't know what they are. I can kind of just describe what they look like. But so this is a pretty standard way of getting some kind of a dish. You got a thing of rice and some kind of a dish of some veggies and meat or something. And then you just kind of portion out a little onto your rice and eat it as you want with the rice. The last main ingredient is carrots. Carrots are quite a common, along with these potatoes. Carrots and potatoes are two of the most common veggies that are used in Dongbei Cai. Dongbei just means northeast. Or actually, in Chinese, you say east-west first, and then north-south. So Dong means east, and Bei means north. So you actually say east-north instead of northeast. That's just how you order directions in Chinese. And cai just means food. So Dongbei cai just means the food from the northeast of it's assumed it means the northeast of China. But I guess it could be from any northeastern place. I'm having some trouble getting some rice on my chopsticks. This is pretty dry rice, which the drier the rice is, the more it crumbles apart. So this rice is kind of harder to get it to stick together in a ball like this. I got a little bit like this, but you can see pieces are falling off of it. The wetter the rice is, the more sticky it is, and the easier it's to get like a ball full of it under your chopsticks. So this is a type of dish where, again, similar to some of the other dishes I've eaten on this channel, it's just a style of cooking that a restaurant does, and then they have a whole bunch of different ingredients. They've got all kinds of different meats a lot of different kinds of you can get this. I usually get I tend to like just meats rather than uh various offal type things like but you can get it with like intestines and with uh various kinds of sausages, and I think they have like chicken hearts you can do it with, and there's various other kinds of meats you can get that are like all various other parts of the animal. You can get it with some like bacon kind of stuff. So there's a whole bunch of different meats you can get cooked into it. I tend to like these are the two kind of leanest, least fatty ones. Um, and this isn't a super healthy thing. You can see there's a bit of oil in the bottom of it, but this is a bit healthier than some of the other kind of stuff you can get. So I tend to try to get it with as little fat in it as possible. Just get the lean cuts of the pork and the chicken. It's still quite flavorful. It doesn't really need the oil to be flavorful. It has a good they've got a good seasoning they use on it. When they're cooking in the pan, it's not just cooking straight meat. They're got some kind of seasoning they cook it in with. Part of that is the these little red peppers that they're cooking with. I think they probably put in a little soy sauce and potentially some other, maybe some like sousing wine or something. But, so it's got kind of a sauce. It's not there. Is there not really a wet sauce, but it's had some kind of sauce on it that it's cooked into. But just enough of the sauce to give everything a little flavor, but not enough to like create an actual wet sauce. This is a very dry dish. And then I've got two drinks today. The first one I'm drinking is just called Hong Pingguo, which is just apple, red apple. Pingguo is apple and Hong is red. A lot of restaurants give out juice boxes. Actually, this I didn't buy this. This just came for free when you order the dish. They just send you the drink with it. It's not anything fancy. It's basically kids' apple juice. Super like sugary water with a hint of apple flavor. It's not great, but it comes for free with the meal, so I just drink it anyway. I don't want to let it go to waste. And then if I run out of that, I also ordered a Coke in case I run out. But yeah, this is usually so like if you were at a restaurant, the way this would be served would be actually this would probably be served in the pot that they cooked it in, probably a little like a cast iron pot or something or a little metal pot. And then that would be on the center of the table and everybody would have their own little bowl of rice and you can just reach in and grab out a little bit and put it on top of your rice and then eat. When I'm at home, I just put one in front of the other and do kind of a similar thing. This is the closest dish that I've found here to just kind of what I would consider like a standard stir fry in America. Not trying to be any specific, ethnicity of food. Not trying to do a Chinese stir fry or a Japanese stir fry or whatever, but just like if an American person's at home and just had some ingredients in their fridge and threw it in and made a stir fry, the ingredients are a little different, but the flavoring is probably the closest to what you might get from that. It's just a bit salty, a bit spicy, and then the flavors of all the ingredients that are in it. They've got other veggies and stuff. This is just the stuff I like to get with it. I quite like carrots. Oh, I forgot to talk about carrots. Carrots is a bit of a funny word in that the Chinese for carrot is hulubo, uh, which it took me a while to learn. And when I was first learning it, I had a neighbor, my downstairs neighbor. I helped her. She was an old lady who lived by herself, and I helped her drag some. I don't remember what it is, some big heavy thing up the stairs one day. And then she decided that I was her. She was really into like superstition and reincarnation and stuff, and she thought she was the reincarnation of some disciple of Buddha. It was like a old, probably 70-year-old lady, and she decided she was gonna call me uh, Sugar, which means older disciple brother. And she told me I needed to call her Shimei, which means younger disciple, even though I'm, at the time I was like 27 and she's 70 something. Um, but she was convinced that I was the reincarnation of some other disciple of Buddha. So, like, that original disciple was an older in the generation than the one she's the reincarnation of. So, in the sort of lineage of Buddhism or whatever, I was an older lineage than hers. She wanted me to call her younger sister, and she would call me older brother. I didn't really mean to go on that tangent, but she would always like try to cook me food and give me vegetables and stuff. So she would constantly be bringing like just bags of veggies to me and be like, here's some veggies. You should eat these. Just classic old grandma, just trying to feed the young people kind of thing. And she had a very strong regional accent. Not the local regional accent from here, but from a different, like a rural area near here. And so she said a lot of words wrong. Wrong for the like standard Mandarin, the Putonghua. Putonghua is standard Mandarin, Beijing style Mandarin Chinese. Or not actually. Beijing has its own dialect, so Putonghua is like the standard, according to the Beijing government, standard Chinese. And Harbin speaks pretty close to that, just the local dialect. There are some variations in it, but her Chinese was quite drastically off of that mainly in terms of pronunciation and word choice. She used a lot of like archaic word choice that when I went to my Chinese teacher and asked her about it, she would say, "Oh yeah, like I mean I know what that means, but no one would say that nowadays. That's from like 100 years ago or something." But so she called carrots by a different name. So the main word is called huluobo, and this lady said hulobei. And so for the longest time, I thought that I just copied what she was saying. I thought that's how you said carrot. So I thought it was hulobei, and I just said that. That was the way I remembered it because she would always say it to me. She was always trying to give me carrots, so I just remembered the name of it. And then if I went in a shop or something or said it to any Chinese person, they would just immediately start laughing and think like, "Oh wow, this guy has a weird like." It's kind of like a foreigner in America speaking with a like deep South redneck accent, and so like it got a lot of funny looks when I went to like shops and things because they were just like, "That's not the way you're supposed to say that word." But so the correct way is hulaboa, but I still often I forget and say hulabei. So that's what happens when you're learning more colloquial, just from talking to. Most of my Chinese is learned from just chatting with people. So like, you pick up weird colloquialisms that maybe aren't the correct thing to say all the time. But so every time I see carrots, I think of that story. It's that was from the first year or two I was here, but it was a kind of fun, entertaining anecdote. And with that, I think I've talked about all the food I got here. So I'm going to cut this video off and finish eating. And I will see y'all next time.